we need to be energy efficient and ecological at the same time. I'm glad that the European Commission also noticed our efforts and included the hydrogen valley of Košice region together with to the REPowerEU action plan. The Košice self-governing region, together with the support of EU funds, has the ambition to explore more deeply the consequences of large public and private investment in hydrogen as alternative energy source, especially its spillover effect on regional innovation, education, entrepreneurship, and employment. I firmly believe that all will benefit from this workshop, and we will move forward to building the hydrogen valley here in Košice and in our region. I'm convinced that this journey and our cooperation will be successful. Without you, it's not possible. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. After the opening address of today's event, let me just summarize what's waiting us. Until 10:30, which is the first coffee break, we are really happy to have a first session of the day, which is called Hydrogen Valleys Sharing Experience. But I will leave my paperwork. I just renamed them. It's a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and Ladies coming to the first stage, because historically, maybe it's the first time you will get all the spec information about how it's this topic undertaken in the Western Europe. So we will move ourselves to Belgium, to Netherlands, to the Orkney Islands of Scotland, and to Slovenia. And it is my very big pleasure to have a chance to introduce the first guest with who is really welcomed in Košice, and I was asked by the organizers to declare and openly say thank you for helping these initiatives to grow in Slovakia, because you are the dramatically important person for next development of the hydrogen topic in Slovakia. So it's my great pleasure to welcome to the stage Mr. Bart B. Bok, if I spelled it correctly, and the floor is yours, Bart. Welcome.
All right. Now I'm connected. That's it. Okay. Well, first of all, Mr. Matej, congratulations with your organizing this workshop here in Košice, and also everything what you have done so far, you and of course your colleagues at the government, well, all you have done for this region, especially regarding the hydrogen valleys or your ambition to become a hydrogen valley. I think it's not an easy journey, but it's a journey that will give you a place, an important place in the future technologies and the future energy. And I think it's the right way. You have a lot of industries here, and we heard that already. And those industries will need to decarbonize. And I can tell you in Europe, decarbonization is really extremely high up the agenda of all the commissioners over there as well. So we need to go, and I think leading regions like your region here is really, very much welcomed and appreciated whatever you do here. And I can tell you from the European side, we are here to help you. And that's also why I came here. But not only me, but because I'm just representing part of it, but I can tell you all the commissioners, and they are supporting indeed your ambition here in this region. So let's make it happen. So today I will talk a little bit about the European hydrogen valleys, a little bit on, I'll say, what is a hydrogen valley, and then later on we will have a couple of examples of hydrogen valleys, and I'll let them explain all the learnings that they have done, the do's and especially also the don'ts. That's very important. But first, let's go a little bit on what are hydrogen valleys. And of course, I have to explain also who we are. I'm not sure if everybody knows who we are, but we are the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. We are a public-private partnership, and We have 2 private partners. I'm not sure if this works here. Let's see. No, oh, that's just like that. It doesn't matter. So we have 3 private partners, which is Hydrogen Europe. This is a trade association. They have more than 470 companies there. It's big companies, small companies, SMEs are there. So then we have Hydrogen Europe Research. It's really the research community, universities, research centers. It's a separate association. And then in the middle, we have, of course, the public side is the European Commission, which is, of course, important for us because they give us the cash money to fund projects, because this is what we are doing. We are funding new innovation and research projects in the field of hydrogen and fuel cells. And why do we do that? In order to accelerate this technology, because we need it. We need the technology if we want to become carbon neutral in the future. So what are our objectives that I got from the member states, including Slovakia member state, of course, but also from the European Parliament and the Commission, is first of all to support the Commission's hydrogen strategy. I will come to that in a minute, but also to stimulate the research and innovation in the clean hydrogen value chain. We have the production, but also distribution and storage of hydrogen, and then, of course, in the various end-use applications. Then we need to strengthen, of course, our position here also in Europe on this technology, and this is in the entire value chain. And I can tell you, as Europeans, we should be extremely proud because we are leading the pack. We are leading here this technology worldwide, and we want to keep that leadership. And that's also why we have this joint undertaking, but that is also why we have such an ambition in Europe for hydrogen. And we come to that in a minute. And finally, I need to contribute through hydrogen, of course, to the ambitious targets that we have in 2030. And we need to reduce the CO2 with 55%. So this is a huge ambition. And then in 2050, we want to become completely carbon neutral. This will be the first continent in the world to get there. So in 2020, the Commission has launched their hydrogen strategy. And that was actually, that happened because of the COVID. You know, we in 2020, we had COVID, and then, okay, suddenly everything was shut down, and companies were shutting down, and we had to stay at home. I think we all know that very well. And then they say, okay, but how do we recover? How do we restart? And that's where they came up to make this hydrogen strategy, which had 3 phases. So by 24, they want to put 6 gigawatts of electrolyzers in the field, then 40 gigawatt by 2030, and then, of course, we believe after 2030 that the technology will be mature and commercial, basically mature. And then our role of the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking is really to support the research agenda for this strategy. And of course, if we say 6 gigawatt and 40 gigawatt, we need to have the technology to get there, and that's our role, to make sure that this technology is there. But then what happened in, early, almost like exactly a year ago, the war started, unfortunately. And that's why on the 8th of March, we had the Repower EU initiative from the Commission. That means very simply saying, get rid of the Russian gas. That was the main message. And that means that we need to replace a lot of that Russian gas with hydrogen. And that is what we're going to do in the Repower EU. And that's why the Commission has said, look, we will need to have 20 million tons of renewable hydrogen by 2030. 20 million tons. 10 million tons will be produced domestically. 10 million tons will be imported. It's huge. This target. I mean, you remember that I said 40 gigawatt was the 2020 target, 2020 strategy, but then for 2030 to reach. Now we need to build, if we want to build this 10 million tons, we need to go to 100 gigawatt by 2030. So will we get there? It will be extremely difficult, and I think probably not, but it's an ambition, and let's try all together to get there. And then, of course, what also happened was then in May in the Repower EU, our Commissioner Gabriel, the Commissioner of Research, she gave me an additional 200 million euro because he said to reach those ambition of the Repower EU, we need to work with hydrogen valleys. We need to create hydrogen valleys all over Europe. And then finally, the next step would be to connect all those hydrogen valleys somehow. And then gradually you create a hydrogen economy all over Europe. So that's why I'm here. So we need to have hydrogen valley also in Slovakia. And so we believe that Košice is really leading the pack here in Slovakia. Maybe there are also other opportunities, but at least I think you already made a very big step forward with the hydrogen strategy that you made for this region. So we believe that you have a good chance. I mean, we have already supported a lot of projects with the joint undertaking, 287 projects. We spent more than 2 billion euro already, half paid by the Commission, half paid by private members. So Slovakia, unfortunately, was not yet very much active in our program. You can see it's only joining one project and only one beneficiary. So yeah, there is some work to be done here. And that's also why we are here. And I hope that we will see a lot of companies also from this region starting to apply for funding in Europe, because there's a lot of funding available. So to go a little bit more in depth, so for the research and innovation, we have basically 3 pillars. One is the hydrogen production. We talk about electrolyzers, but also very low TRL hydrogen production. And so, for example, direct sunlight conversion into hydrogen, this kind of solar panels type of thing. So really very innovative, which are at a very low technical readiness level. But then we also work on hydrogen distribution. This means we have to bring the hydrogen from the production side to the customer side, end user side. So we need to put in pipelines, we need to think about different type of carriers, we need to think about special trucks that can bring that hydrogen to those locations, so all these things, but also hydrogen refueling stations we need to have and we need to build out, so we're working on that one as well, and also storage, underground storage, salt caverns, depleted gas fields, and so on. That's where we will put the hydrogen. And then we talk about hydrogen and end use. That means in transportation, heat and power, like in turbines and so on, or stationary fuel cells, and in the industry. We can talk about steel, of course, and we heard already US Steel as well, but also cement industry, glass industry, they all need a lot of energy. And today they're using natural gas. That will be a no-go anymore in future, so hydrogen is one of the options. And then we have some horizontal pillars, which is the hydrogen valleys. This is the topic of today, and we are funding that. And also cross-cutting we are doing. This is about safety, about also pre-normative research, about standardizations, and so on. Now, coming to hydrogen valley. What is for us in Europe the definition of a hydrogen valley? Well, for us, and I read it here because then I'm sure it's correct. And so a hydrogen valley is a defined geographical area, like a region, which is clearly defined, where hydrogen serves more than one sector or application, could be in mobility, in the industry, and energy. So basically, it's like an ecosystem where hydrogen is serving various types of sectors. So it's not like, okay, I'm just putting 10 hydrogen buses. Okay, now I'm a hydrogen valley. No. This is just a project. I mean, you put 10 buses, fine, nice. No, a hydrogen valley is really this ecosystem where everybody in the ecosystem, the citizens, government, industry, researchers, they are all working together. And that's what we try to achieve there. And then when we talk about the investment, well, I can tell you it's a multi-million euro investment, and you will hear from the other hydrogen valleys how much finally on 5-10 years, how much they will invest. And also it covers all the necessary steps in the value chain. So it means from production of hydrogen, and sometimes also they put actually, I'd say solar panels, wind, and so on, to storage, transport, and distribution, and so on. So you really, the entire value chain is covered in a hydrogen valley. So we started to work in 2016 with the regions. At that time, we had around 100 regions that were working with us, which led actually to 3 kind of initiatives. Which one was the PDA? This is a Project Development Assistance Program, because, I mean, a lot of the regions, they have a PowerPoint, very nice, beautiful PowerPoint, and that's it. It's not a project, it's a PowerPoint. So what we need to do is to make sure that this PowerPoint materializes in a real project. And that's what we do with the PDA. And I'm very happy that in January we announced that, of course, Košice is now officially one of the 15 regions that are selected in Europe to participate in this project development assistance program. And so basically, we are giving some financial support to pay basically consultants to help you. And what I heard is it's going quite well. That's what I understood. So happy for that. But then we also have the European Hydrogen Valleys Partnership. This is a number of regions. And actually today there are 59 regions in Europe that come together in a partnership in order to find synergies, but also to put hydrogen at the political agenda very much, and also make sure that all those budgets, regional budgets and so on that they have in Europe, that they also move to hydrogen projects in their regions as well. So it is, one hand, get to know each other, try to work together. There are synergies, 1 + 1. In the mathematical world, this is 2, but sometimes it's 3, you know. And so this is what they try to achieve. And now I think I would definitely recommend also Košice to apply for it. And I think you're on the way to get there. So this is very important that you align yourself, that you work together, because the hydrogen economy is not only Košice that will do it, it will be all together to make it happen, okay? And finally, we have then the creation of hydrogen valleys. And that's really from some regions that say, now we want to go all the way. And then we, let's say, we provide funding to create your hydrogen valley here as well. So you see, there are this kind of 3 steps that we are doing. And I think Košice is going gradually now through those 3 steps, from PDA to now partnering with the other regions, and finally to become a hydrogen valley and get the funding. So when we look into Europe from the hydrogen valleys, well, today we have now 60 hydrogen valleys identified. And you can see that I put some pink colored ones. And on the 31st of January, Europe just announced, our commissioner announced to have 9 valleys supported financially. We have put 105 million euro now available for those 9 valleys. And one of the valleys is, of course, the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley, which you will hear later on a bit more about that. But what is beautiful is also, you look, if you start to look, where are now those pink ones, you see that Southern, Eastern Europe, Central Europe, they are starting also with creating hydrogen valleys. And this is very important, because this was for us the key point. Europe is not about Western Europe alone, it's about all Europe. We are all together here. And so we gradually see now that we are moving to those directions. But also Ireland was not, I mean, 3 years ago when I went to Ireland, hydrogen was like something superficial. They didn't know. Today, they have established their first hydrogen valley. You see how fast it can go. So these are a couple of hydrogen valleys that we have funded, and you will hear much more about them later on. But what I wanted to tell you is the importance is the narrative. Why do you want to become a hydrogen valley? There are a lot of regions, but some regions have a very good reason why to go. And this is key, because it's your narrative that engages the industry, engages the citizens, because they can be all behind that narrative and they feel part of it. And then that's how you're building a successful hydrogen valley. For example, Big Hit, it's in the Orkney Islands. They had too much renewable electricity. And so what do you do with that? You have to then start making hydrogen. And you will hear that. We have the Northern Netherlands. This is the heaven. This is basically officially the first European hydrogen valley. They had earthquakes. They didn't like that very much over there. So they needed to go to something else. And that something else is hydrogen. And then the Green Highland in Spain. So they have a huge imbalance between winter and summertime in terms of the necessity of energy. There are, in summer, there's 12 million people there, and they have only 1 million citizens, Majorcan people. So that means, I mean, my country is 11 million, so Belgium. So whole Belgium moves to Mallorca during the summer. So you can imagine the differences in energy needs is huge. So that's why each of them have a separate reason, a need, a problem. And it's a problem they want to address by using hydrogen. And also here, let's think, what is your reason, what is your problem, And for that, you have to sit all together. And the beauty is that we have many, many different industries. You all have some issues. You all have troubles or problems. And that bring that together and try to put the common problem forward. Okay, this is our problem here in Košice region. And this is what we want to address with hydrogen. So Hydrogen Valleys is not only a European thing. You see, it's a global thing under the Mission Innovation, which is a partnership with a lot of governments worldwide. We are now building Hydrogen Valleys, as you can see, worldwide. We have 38 of them in 20 different countries. You can see the blue-colored areas. So Canada, we have them, US, Chile has them, Australia has them. So it's really something that we started here in Brussels in 2016, but now all over the world is applying the same things. Why it is? Because it works. It's proven that it's a successful measure. It's all together that we have to do it. It's not only government. You can not only look to government, but also government needs people. Government needs industries to do. It's all together. That's the main message. I mean, we have also a Hydrogen Valley platform, which is h2v.eu. Go to that website. There you can see all the hydrogen valleys, their narrative, their investments, their where are they doing exactly. They also share best practices, so go there. We also made a kind of a brochure which is going global. This is a brochure that we are using to also invite other countries in the world to start working on hydrogen valleys. And it was very nice because last week, actually, there was a webinar in India. And now India had a Hydrogen Valley workshop, also their first Hydrogen Valley workshop like we have here today. And so it's fantastic to see that they are starting to work on hydrogen valleys now also in India and so on. What we have learned, because of course we started already quite earlier with hydrogen valleys, and in the Mission Innovation 1.0, because that's what I call, we had a task to find what are the remaining barriers. And one is honestly still obtaining public funding support, because today the business case on hydrogen is not yet a profitable business case. So there are gaps. And with those gaps, we need funding. So we need to make sure that industries, researchers can access to those funds easily and in an easy way. So this was one of the barriers still that are there. We are working on that. As you see, the REPowerEU budgets and so on, but it's not enough. Later on this year, you will have the European Hydrogen Bank will be announced in May. There was already some first information coming 2 weeks ago from our president, Ursula von der Leyen, who mentioned the Green Deal Industrial Act, where we will have a fixed premium per kilogram of renewable hydrogen for 10 years. So this is the premium itself I cannot release here today. There are still some discussions, but it's a substantial premium, again, to close the gap. And the first auction, because it will be auction, will be held in probably September, October, so in autumn this year. The second barrier was also finding green hydrogen off-takers and signing long-term contracts, because we have the technology to produce green hydrogen, but we need an off-taker. Somebody needs to buy it, and that person needs to sign not only for 1 year or for 6 months, no, 10 years, 15 years, so long-term off. And we need to work on that, and we need to, and there I think government, the role of local authorities are also very important, because they can stimulate also, or making policies or regulation that can make sure that this kind of long-term contracts are being signed. Then also, of course, we need to make sure still that the technology is maturing, because today the technology is working, but it's a new technology. And and even vehicles, the engines today and vehicles, they are still improving. Every single new model is coming out, and vehicles existing for 100 years. So also, this hydrogen technology will need to further be developed. And so the importance of research should not be underestimated. I mean, just think about efficiency. If we can improve 1% of an electrolyzer efficiency, the impact on your business case is huge. Not for a small electrolyzer of 100 kilowatt, but when you start talking about 50, 100 megawatt, 0.5% if efficiency improves, make sometimes already the fact that your case is profitable or not profitable. So as researchers, we really need to focus on those things that can quickly accelerate the business case. Right? And then, of course, also regulatory support. I mean, carbon pricing, very important. 2 days ago, it was the first, or it was yesterday, it was the first time ever in the history in Europe that we broke the 100 euro per ton CO2 carbon price. That was amazing. So 100 euro barrier has been broken. It's important because if you calculate like 100 euro for 1 ton of CO2, if you would replace gray hydrogen, you talk easily about almost like 1 euro per kilo hydrogen that you will need to add as a carbon price. So it starts to make, again, the difference. It can make the difference between a profitable and non-profitable project. And so now with the Innovation 2.0 that started in 2020, we are aiming to build 100 hydrogen valleys around the world. And we hoped that half of them, 50 of them, will be in Europe by 2030. So very important also for you is the call for proposals. On the 17th of January, we launched our second call for proposals. It was 200 million euro for various topics, for the production, storage, transport, heat and power, and so on, but also for hydrogen valleys. So we will fund 2 small hydrogen valleys, each will get 9 million euro, and also 1 big of 20 million euro. Please do not be afraid. I say, oh, there's only one. Okay, maybe we should not apply because we might not win. No. Remember, I have 60 million euro in addition from the Repower EU. So all the projects that are successful, we will also fund. It's the same like this year, we will fund nine additional hydrogen valleys. So with this Repower EU money. So please just apply for it. We will normally all fund all the projects that are successful. So the key point is make a good application, make it successful, and then there's a big chance that the money will come, even if you're not number 1, but even number 2, or if you're in the reserve list. Deadline, 18th April 2023, 1700 hours, Belgium time. 1701 is too late. The train is gone. So I would advise you, if you want to submit, think about submitting 1 day earlier. Then you're sure that everything went fine. We will do funding of hydrogen valleys every year until 2027. So no worries. There will be, for sure, if you don't make it this year, next year again, next year, always in January, we will launch them. And until 2025, we have the Repower EU budget, so we can fund even more hydrogen valleys than what we do then later on. These are the topics. I will not go through it because of sake of time, but you can read them on our website. So we have the large-scale hydrogen valley, it's 20 million euro. There, normally, we are aiming for like 5,000 tons per year production and so on. The role and the commitment of local authorities is very, very important. So they also need to send like a letter of intent or something that they say, okay, we support this project. And that's the same for the small-scale hydrogen valley. Again, here it's 9 million euro, but we talk here about 500 tons per year. Also, again, the role of the public authorities are very important. Then, I think moving to PDF from a PowerPoint made some changes, but okay, it doesn't matter. You also have other funding programs in Europe, and one of them is CEF. So, for example, for the hydrogen refueling stations, you can just go to CEF. So if you say we want to build here in our region 5 stations and we want to connect it to Bratislava and we want to put another 2, 3 there, go to CEF. That's the perfect vehicle for that. And so the deadline there is 13th of April now. And if you make a very nice proposal, for sure you will get it because there's a lot of money and they don't have enough proposals. So I think you will have a good chance. Of course, the proposals still need to be of good quality, but this has also allowed, so the rules are allowing that our funding from the joint undertaking and the funding from CEF is allowed to be combined. So this is very important to know. That was not the case 2 years ago, but now it is okay. So you can combine them. And these are the other funding instruments. I will not go through it, but you can see there are so many funding streams in Europe for hydrogen. So if you have a good project and you're not sure where to go, come to us, come to me. or come to our guests as well from the other day. They know also many of them, so we can guide you. I know it's like a forest of with many, many trees, but we can bring you to the right tree. No worries. Okay, and with that, I would like to thank you. Thank you.
Many thanks, Bart. Beautiful presentation. I would like to ask you for a round of applause again. He has deserved it. He deserved it. Thank you very much. After the promise of the good prospect for the hydrogen, let me ask you, the next speaker to join the stage. Mr. Patrick Knabben comes from Netherlands, and he was first, so you are the one to say all about heaven.
Yeah, that's...
Looks like an angel, so welcome him to the stage.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy.
Can I put... Yes, please. This is later from the presentation.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Well, good morning, and thank you, dear organizing committee, for inviting me. Also, thank you to the colleagues like Bart and the other colleagues who will introduce you to, let's say, the European success model of the hydrogen valleys, because it's a success model. It works, needs some work, and was introduced as an angel. Well, that's not really what I would like to be as an angel, but let's try to be a guardian angel. Let's help you to make the next step. And my presentation, as always, has a mind of its own. So let's begin here. My name is Patrick Knabben. I work for an organization called New Energy Coalition, which is a cluster and network organization, more or less. We have, let's say, several parties connected to it. I think it's 100 in total, and big companies and small companies. And we particularly are very careful about our SMEs, because the Hydrogen Valley will help you create prosperity. And as the President von der Leyen said, Hydrogen Valleys can bring prosperity back to the urban regions of Europe. And we need to do that, especially in the current times, which are very stressy, I would like to say, from the energy perspective. So I have a presentation. I will try to compress it. We'll skip some slides, because also to be more adaptive to your needs. And I will start with the narrative. First we start where we are, and that is very important, because you need to be visible. And I think for Košice region, that's very important. Be visible, be self-conscious. You have a lot to offer, and you don't go to Brussels, so to say, to get something. You are bringing something, and you potentially can bring a success, and that is what it's about. Okay. Let's see. Well, first, where are we located? As you can see, the blue area is the North Sea. The Netherlands is located in the northwestern part of Europe, and our region is there. The yellow dot, that is our Hydrogen Valley region, comprises of 3 provinces, the provinces of Friesland, Groningen, and Drenthe. And in the Project Heaven, the nucleus, the center of gravity, are the 2 provinces, Groningen and Drenthe. And as Bart already said, you need a narrative. You need a storyline which actually says, why do you think that you want to become a Hydrogen Valley? And that's what it's about. The narrative is key, and of course a lot of other things, but the narrative answers the why. So this is more or less what we think that we can influence and get hydrogen to. And the narrative is, here is the narrative for our region. This is a detail of our region. To the top right, that's the province of Groningen. You see a gray dot, a gray, let's say, like a gray area. That is the largest onshore natural gas field in Europe, called the Slochteren field. It has brought a lot of prosperity since its discovery in 1956, almost 70 years of natural gas production in our region. And the other ones, are also smaller natural gas fields. The Netherlands has about 300 natural gas fields, smaller than the big one, but so we are very dependent on natural gas, and that's something which is going to change, because this field created a lot of prosperity. Several hundreds of billions of euros were cashed, The region didn't get so much in return, which is a continuous discussion. We'll talk about that at the coffee. But it came at a price. And the price was little earthquakes, little tremors. I have to say, we cannot compare that to the disaster which happened in Turkey and Syria, be very well, but these are little tremors of 3.5, 3.6. And the soil conditions in our region are such that when there is a incident in a gas field, it's going 3.5 kilometers up, and there is actually no energy is lost. So 3.5 down is 3.5 up. So it's quite intensive, and a lot of people live on top of it, and they have cracks in the walls, and the houses become unstable. Having said that, the government, after a lot of protests from people in the region, a lot of political activity, has decided to stop the extraction of the field. And there, the narrative starts. Because if we don't do anything, if you just shut the field and leave, we will have a problem which is about 20,000 jobs. About 20,000 jobs in the northern part of the Netherlands are dependent on the natural gas value chain. So if you don't do anything, you have a big problem. And we have tried to describe this in two graphs. The top graph is the cumulative extraction of the field, which will go down, planned 2024 to zero. Probably with the current situation, it might be somewhat longer open, but less gas is being extracted. But this is a really important graph. This is the effect of less gas extraction on the regional domestic product, which means that we'll go down to -8, -10, probably some more percent. So, and there is the narrative. If we don't do anything, we will have a problem which is 20,000 jobs, 20,000 families, and 20,000 households without a sufficient income. So we need to have a solution for that. And we wrote down the solution in a plan, I think 4 years ago now, called the Green Hydrogen Economy in the Northern Netherlands. And we described what we could do to counter that dramatic effect. And actually, it's quite simple because we have been extracting natural gas for 70 years. So we know how to manage these enormous energy streams. And natural gas is predominantly methane. So we tamed the methane molecule, and we think we can do the same with hydrogen. Because a lot of hydrogen is being transported. The molecules from the northern Netherlands even end up in northern Italy. So by having a situation that we can explain that if we can do it with natural gas, we can do it with hydrogen. Need some work in between. It's not really a cakewalk. It's not really simple, but it can be done. It's not rocket science. It's work. And that booklet has been accepted by the political arena. So advocate. Your region needs to define a cracky narrative, and then you have to sell it to the politicians. If you would like to talk in terms of selling and buying, because they need to advocate it together with you as industry. So we made the book. I can make sure that we send you a PDF of that. It's quite big. And then what are we going to do? Again, a picture of the North Sea. We have the North Sea at our doorstep, and the North Sea will become a very big energy park. A lot of wind parks on it, and this energy will come onshore and needs to be redistributed into the land, into the country. But getting a permit for a power overhead power line takes 15 years. You have to talk to people, and nobody wants an overhead line over his home, etc. So there's a lot of protest. And that actually is also part of the narrative, because you can bring the power onshore, you want to bring the power to the user centers, but if there is no way to do that, you need to have a solution. And hydrogen is a solution, because hydrogen can be made from electricity and water. And if you make hydrogen from it, it is nothing more than canned electricity. You tin it, put it in a tin, can transport it. And we have tins, and these are the natural gas pipelines, very long tins. So you produce hydrogen, put it in the pipeline, and bring it to the client. You need some other things. You also need some storage. So we bring the energy together with onshore solar fields, etc. Two electrolyzers, big ones and smaller ones, so central and decentral. That's a mix. Then you put it into these transport systems like the pipelines or in a trailer to bring it to a fueling station or to homes. And thereby you can create this valley concept. And a valley is indeed a region defined. So put a fence around it, produce the hydrogen in the region and try to keep the maximum amount of hydrogen in the region, then you will benefit from it the most because you don't have to buy other forms of energy, and the rest you export. And and that narrative is something you need to define. That is the trigger to trade, so to say. And here we can see that we also store the hydrogen in underground salt caverns, big thermos flasks about 1.5 kilometers down in a salt layer, which is very suitable for that. But there are other ways of storing, like in ammonia or methanol, or maybe in depleted natural gas fields. It's all depending on the region. And then it's being brought to consumers, to houses, to transport, to industry. And when we started, we thought we will start with industry and then mobility and then build environment somewhere in the basement, but it's changing. We see that mobility and industry are very close because if you want to decarbonize mobility, you have electricity and hydrogen. And hydrogen has some advantages in the way of transport distances, etc., and heavy load. And because of you need to bring the fuel to the fueling stations, you also need trucks. You can do that with a size electrolyzer. It doesn't necessarily have to be a very big one instantaneously. In the end, you need the big ones and the small ones. And now we can see that even the politicians see, okay, it's mobility, industry, and then the built environment in our region is coming up because we want to step out of natural gas, and we can't put every existing home on a heat pump. Hydrogen is very interesting because you can put it in a natural gas pipe, bring it to your home, replace the burner in the boiler, and have a comfortable a day, because we don't want to be in the cold. Okay, what we did in the region, then we had this alignment with the politicians and said, okay, what are we talking about in volume of money? So we asked the industry, make a plan, a hydrogen investment plan 1.0 at the time. And all these industries, you can see there, they were going to think about, do we need to electrify or hydrogen? And they came up with a plan with about a size of 3 billion euros to, for the larger part, sustainabilize their industry via electrification and hydrogen. This was predominantly hydrogen. So you have to activate the industry. And we visited a beautiful steel plant yesterday. I think you have sufficient industrial capacity, and there are other industries as well which can contribute to that. And now the Hydrogen Valley, as Bart said, if you have only a bus or only one off-taker, you don't have a valley, you have a project. That's not a valley. But we want to go to deep penetration of hydrogen in society. So when we started, we were here, a few buses, a few fueling stations, and by no means I want to, let's say, under-exaggerate, but the few fueling stations is something else than a big valley. But you need to start somewhere. We are more or less here now, and we want to go here. And what does this Hydrogen Valley model do? It's a stepping stone. It's like a triple jump. Before you can walk, you have to learn to crawl. This is a step towards the full implementation. So it helps you define the way and ramp up. Because going there will take time, but use the Hydrogen Valley model to get into business and be visible. I usually use this animation, which I will not show because it takes 3 minutes and we want to compress the time. I will send it over to Jan as well. I usually use this to welcome people to the first Hydrogen Valley of Europe, with many thanks to Europe and to the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. Without these guys and girls, you can't do it. It's a collaboration, and don't be afraid because they are your friend. We are in this project all time. You know, it is 30 parties from 7 countries, and you know, it's always a challenge to align, but they're there to help you. Use them as your friend. If you have a question, ask it. Don't hold it to yourself. This is more or less the project, and this is always a terrible scheme, but I use it intentionally because it looks very terrific, but it's very simple actually. The red dot, the dots you can't see now, but there are 30 projects in there. And we created a narrative, let's say the North Sea power cables, connect the power cables to electrolyzers, produce the hydrogen, and bring the hydrogen to industry, like here, like this is energy, for instance, it's illustrative with the electrolyzer, produce green methanol, produce sustainable aviation fuels, connected to inland waterways where a ship is going to sail from our region to Rotterdam with salt in it on hydrogen, and it travels to all the urbanized regions where many people live, like Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and there is no emission. And that's what you want, because that is decarbonization in effect. We have the storage, we have usage in data centers. Data center uses a lot of energy, and they have a backup power system, so we are going to replace the backup power system. And now even the data centers say, well, we can use it as a backup, but why not use it as a main power source and use the power grid as the backup? So you can see change of thinking. We have a whole former natural gas cleaning installation in the southern part, which has been decommissioned, but all the infrastructure on the ground is still there. So we put a solar field and some windmills in the vicinity on them, and an electrolyzer system to provide directly green hydrogen to CHPs on this industry park. And of course, we have a lot of vehicles because you need to drive around. I think we have 100 passenger cars, I think 15 or so heavy load trucks, small load trucks. And we, in a separate scheme, we have the Jive 2 program and the Jive 1 program, which co-funded 32 hydrogen buses in the region. And that is combining resource, combining funds. That's what you need to do. And again, I want to stress out, Europe can help you, the Clean Hydrogen Partnership can help you. And if you have questions, relate to them. This is an overview of the parties, big ones, small ones, like big ones like Total or Shell, and smaller ones like NSC and high energy consultancy. There are many of them, BytesNet, and it's a mix. So you have to be very open and not restrictive. Hydrogen Valleys is about openness, and of course a project is closed, but you have to work together. I told you about the first investment plan. We've made a new one, it's this one, and it's 9 billion euros. More people are getting active, and actually this little yellow dot is our Hydrogen Valley, which actually triggered a lot of co-investments, not in the project, but surrounding it. Functions like a magnet. Our project was about 90 million euros in size. We received a contribution from the FCHU Clean Hydrogen Partnership of 20 million, and 20 million from the state and the region. And it's of course, it's not enough, it's never enough, but we have to keep on working. But the interesting thing is, we had a relatively small project compared to 9 billion euros, but now we see that parties like, many more parties are going to invest in electrolyzers because they've seen the light, so to say. Smaller electrolyzers, 10 megawatt, 20 megawatt, we even have live with 200 megawatts. RWE recently announced a 600 megawatt electrolyzer near the coastline, and energy giant is going to put down 100 megawatt, 800 megawatt, 1 gigawatt, 1.8 gigawatts in total up until 2035. That's a bit of a, well, when it's finished, that will take some time. But you can see that this region really matters, and we can bring this hydrogen to every other industry cluster in the Netherlands and in Germany and in Belgium, for instance. So we need to connect. Hydrogen Valleys is about connecting. Bart already mentioned the European Hydrogen Valleys Partnership. I think that this is an old graph. I think you are a member already, Jan, I think, of the European Hydrogen Valleys Partnership, as far as I know. Aren't you a member as a region? Well, we have to fix that, because Kat can help. Come next week to Brussels and we can arrange that at this fantastic event. Coordinate and cooperate with other regions. Europe thinks in regions, not so much in countries, because the activities are in the regions, in your localities and cities, etc. This Hydrogen Valley platform was turned over into a Hydrogen Europe regional pillar system with Yorgo Chatzimarkakis to the left hand and Chistelstads are one of our regional ministers to the right-hand side. Come and visit next week, they will explain some more. And Bart already told this, because there are many valleys in Europe, in the world, and be assured that you are one of that. You're on the map, and now we need to get from a PowerPoint to a project, and you have a lot to offer. And I always finalize with this one. This is an overview of various valleys in Europe, and they all have names, and some have already logos. And I would be very interesting to see, to get a Košice Hydrogen Valley or an East Carpathian Hydrogen Valley. It's up to you to decide the name, but I think you have to step into that promise. And to conclude, what you need to do is be stubborn, hold on, be creative, stay enthusiastic, make yourselves known, be visible, organize all kinds of other funding streams, because you can define a financial strategy. For instance, in the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, for the roads, the corridor approach with the fueling stations and the trucks, there is a lot of money, but it's always co-funding. You need industry money, or let's say private money, and public money. And that's the mix you need to do. And once you start and you've submitted and you've got the price, keep on working, because it's hard work, and probably you need to even work harder. But that's what you need to do if you want to have the prize. And it's not because you do it for yourselves, you're doing it for the region and to contribute to regional, national, and international, let's say, policy goals. That's as far as I would like to go. I will be here. So if there are questions, please relate them to me. And I'm not sure if I stayed within time. Oh, yeah, there's another one. Yesterday we had a discussion with the airport. And we have an airport as well. This is not a private jet, but this is a ground power unit. It runs on diesel. They're going to retrofit that to hydrogen to bring clean energy to the plane. And we are involving young people, universities, University of Applied Sciences, and vocational craftsmen. We need to do it all, and we have several more of these images if you would like to have them. And now we need to shut up, I see, and let's work together. And we are very willing to, well, help wherever we can. Thank you.
Patrick, many thanks. It was enriching and encouraging one. Really, really it was. Before we will go to another speaker, there is a first question on one of the first questions from Slido. And if you allow me, can we expect, Bart, this is for you, can we expect more calls in the future for hydrogen volleys? If yes, can you give some indication and timing? Probably they meant more from these ones you have already mentioned. Can you just maybe reply the question? And they will can maybe move forward.
No, we will have calls every year in January. So like today, this year it's 200 million euro now, or 195. Next year in January, there will be again one, normally probably 120. Next year, the year after will be around 100, again 120. So it's basically until 2027. Every January, we will launch a call for proposals. Mm-hmm. And every January, some part of the money will be attributed to hydrogen valleys. So
lovely. Thank you very much.
As Patrick said, there is money in Europe. Just go for it.
Or maybe better say there is money and there is a case study also, which I'm quite shocked what I've just seen. Okay, many thanks. The third speaker is Dr. Enrique Troncoso, which will be talking about another projects. And these are called Big Heat and Green Highlands. I'm sorry for the feedback. So I would like to right now and presenting the next presentation. I'm sorry. Her all the time. So I'm sorry, doctor.
Just like that, no?
If I may explain Enrique Troncoso is not here, you see, so he apologized. And
It's his last call.
his
It's the
colleague
last call.
is here, so he explained
Indeed.
all what he needs.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
So yes, my name is not Dr. Enrique Troncoso, that's our Business Development and Strategy Director. My name is Katarina Bouchard, and I'm the Managing Director of NSC. I'm pleased to see you all here this morning. And yes, unfortunately, my colleague couldn't be here for health reasons, so I'm taking over this slot. We wanted to share with you, indeed, as has just been explained, some lessons learned that we have experienced with some of the very first work that has been going on hydrogen valleys in Europe, in 2 regions. And yeah, I just wanted to share with these experiences with you, and happy to discuss them further later on as well on a more bilateral basis. And we've got, I think, roundtables later on this afternoon as well. So I think there will be some more time to go into more depth in all of these. But to share what has been done in other parts of Europe, not just in the northern Netherlands, but also in Scotland, where the first hydrogen valley was indeed set up, and in Mallorca, in Spain, where we are currently working on another hydrogen valley. Just a few words about us as NRC. Our mission is to enable the sustainable energy transition. So we're really in the business of decarbonizing the European economy, and we have a company objective of helping to reduce by 500,000 tons of CO2 equivalent, the emissions from the European economy by the year 2030. Now, how do we want to do that? Really, essentially, we want to build green hydrogen infrastructure in the different sectors, so transport, industry, energy, essentially through what we know as the Hydrogen Valley approach. And that is really our core, the core of our work that we do. So we provide some strategic advice, then also technical support, techno-economic design and implementation of projects. We help with funding advice, project management, and also work on training and skills development. So this is just to give you an idea of the type of work that we typically support partners with. And this is also the kind of input we give to the projects that we get involved in. Now, I'm not going to dwell too much on what hydrogen valleys is, because Bart has already extensively talked about it. So you know already by now that these hydrogen valleys cover the entire value chain. They have multiple hydrogen applications, and the idea is really to have sectoral integration between them. Now, what is important about hydrogen valleys is that they create economies of scale both within the hydrogen valley ecosystem, so within the actual hydrogen valley, but they can also, by being replicated in different areas, the idea is to create economies of scale indeed by connecting those different hydrogen valleys and increasing demand and also supply, and with that then help decarbonize the European economy. It's about very much a question of collaboration, of PPPs along the entire value chain. So I'm really glad to see so many of you here in the room today. That is a very good start. And I hope we're going to have a bit more time later on to sort of see a bit more who is who. But indeed, collaboration is key in any collaboration on hydrogen valleys. And as Bart has already mentioned as well, there is indeed hydrogen valleys are part of the European hydrogen strategy, and they have indeed been identified as the key drivers for kickstarting the hydrogen economy. So it's not just any old hydrogen project that we're talking about here. It's really about creating a nucleus for creating demand for hydrogen in one particular region, and then eventually expanding it out and enlarging it across a wider region. And, you know, we're talking here Europe, but of course, you know, this concept can be extended to the global scale, which has already been initiated in different places, as we've seen. So in order to develop a hydrogen valley, and I just want to, you know, sort of touch upon this, because obviously the details of this is these are days, hours, months, and years of work when you do these things here. So in order to develop a hydrogen valley, as you can see here, you need really, and these are, again, just a few bits and pieces, but some key elements to consider when you design a hydrogen valley. So you need to think about things like permitting. You need to think about also the acceptance of the local community. So very pleased to hear that you've already started to think about it with the hydrogen bikes that were mentioned earlier on, just to get people sort of acquainted to the idea, what's going on, and to take them with you on their path, because I'd really urge you not to forget about the local population, because they are, at the end of the day, the ones that are going to use a lot of this infrastructure. If you're talking about mobility, they will be confronted with it, even if they're not using it themselves. So it's important to take them with you on the journey by not just informing them, but by also getting them involved as much as possible in the development of your hydrogen valley. Funding, of course, is an important one, and the business model, but again, touched upon that earlier on about, how the economics need to stack up in order to get the different partners on board. And then other things like distribution, the last mile distribution of hydrogen needs to be taken into consideration, which is often forgotten when we think about sort of the big picture. We've got the value chain of, production of renewables, then renewable electricity, then the production of hydrogen, and then we sort of go very quickly into the offtake, but there's the last mile distribution, which we also need to think about. And then, of course, the policy context, safety questions, things like that. So there's a lot of things to do, to consider when we want to develop a hydrogen valley. It is really quite a complex undertaking. And apart from the sort of technical considerations, we also need to think about the different roles of the different partners in the room and in the projects that need to be part of this. So actually, maybe as just a little sort of exercise, and maybe to warm people up a little bit as well. So you see, we need everything from renewable energy suppliers, hydrogen producers, storage providers, the people that transport the hydrogen, last mile distributors, end users from different sectors or different types of activity, and then people who would be doing the knowledge transfer. And this is all held together by the people that really implement the whole thing, and that not just project coordinated, but under implementation support, there's also the funders, the local authorities, the regulators, so the different people that enable are creating essentially the enabling environment for making all of this happen. So can we just maybe, as a very short practical exercise, since this is a workshop, make it a bit of, let's do some work here. Can we just have a show of hands of individually who is here? Can you think about which category you would fit into of these groups, of these roles? And can we just have a show of hands of each of them where you would think you fit in? Now, if you fit in more than one, take the one that you think you fit in better. So just maybe show your hand and in the one that is sort of more suitable. So are there any renewable energy suppliers in the room? There is one. Okay, that's great. Do we have any hydrogen producers here? Yeah, there's also a few. Yeah. Okay, that's 3 hands I see. Then any storage providers for hydrogen? Nobody. Okay. Anybody transporting hydrogen? So this could be pipeline, trailers, anything of that sort. Yeah, there's 3, 4, 5 hands. Oh, there's more. People are still thinking about it, whether they want to transport hydrogen or not. So there's a few there. Anyone who's doing sort of last mile distribution? So this could be utilities or, that kind of activity. Nobody, okay. And are there any end users here? There is one end user. I feel like this is an auction, to the first, to the second, to the third. So there's one end user here, that's good, but we need a few more for a hydrogen valley. So this is a good learning already. I hope there's a few more out there, but for a hydrogen valley with one end user, we are a bit short. Sorry? Potential. Okay, we've got two. Well, that's good. And then is there anybody who would be doing knowledge transfer? So this is academia, research, any kind of sort of teaching. Oh, there's quite a few in the room. So this is more than 5 hands I see here. Great. So this is good. Just, to get an idea also for you maybe to see who is here already. I appreciate there might be people who are not here today, but who might still be involved. So there's probably a few more also that might be fulfilling any of these roles that are not here. But I thought it would be good to, just to get an idea, get a flavor for who's here. Because indeed you will need to think about who these people are, what is everybody's role, and what are the gaps that you need to fill. So now for some experiences that we've had with the first valley here that we wanted to talk about today, which was the Big Hit project, which was really the very first test concept of a hydrogen valley or hydrogen ecosystem in Europe, if I dare not say even in the world. It was located in the Orkney Islands, right in the north of Scotland, it, for the very first time, brought together the entire value chain in an island context, on a small scale, of course, but it did bring it together on a local scale. So the rationale here was to basically use wind that was produced locally, very windy region of Europe. In fact, Scotland is the region with the highest wind potential in the whole of Europe. So there's a lot of wind that was available, is still available there, and that was available and had to be curtailed because indeed the local population didn't need as much. So that curtailed for in this case hydrogen, it was decided. It was the objective was to also boost the local economy. The wind resource was actually, and that's an interesting point maybe also to mention, is community owned. So it's actually the community through a development trust that owns and runs and also gets the benefits back from the sale of the renewable power. Which is, by the way, talking about local community acceptance, has been shown, this project has really made it clear that it's been a very good way of bringing the local people with you, because if they can see a benefit, i.e. they get a payout that they can reinvest into the local community, whether that is for schools, whether that is for cultural activities, for whatever it is they decide to do it with, that is something that is really positive and really brings them on board and makes them go with you. So that's really something we could definitely recommend as a tool of bringing the community on board, give them community ownership of some of the resources. That would be something that's really helpful. We've seen that there's quite a lot of renewable energy potential that is considered as part of the Košice Hydrogen Valley that are not quite decided yet. So that might be an opportunity for consideration to bring the local population here with you. So yes, the idea here was to bring use local hydrogen for heating, road and maritime transport. And this was in a big consortium of 12 partners from across Europe, and with a total budget of 13.5 million. I think that's actually a bit outdated. I think the 13.5 went up, I think, to about 19-20 million now. But the project just finished last year, and yeah, had a lot of experiences from that to show that there are technical things that need to be considered, like, simple things that you might not think about, like corrosion, so the choice of materials to use for valves and things like that. Those were experiences that the project brought, and that were not initially thought about, but that are indeed quite crucial when you talk about, things like safety of hydrogen, when it can be used, using it in a maritime environment. Of course, the corrosion is higher, the saltiness of the air is stronger, and so there were some learnings that that might not make it onto a big PowerPoint, but that in reality are crucial, because you can't guarantee safety if you don't have the right materials to use for your projects. Now I'm not going to talk about heaven, because my colleague Patrick already did that extensively, so I'm just going to skip that also in the interest of time. But the other project I wanted to mention to you is the Green Highland project in Mallorca, where indeed the main driver for starting it was the closure of a local cement plant, which had to lay off quite a few people. And so the idea was to then reconvert the employment for these people into green jobs, basically, and with that then also help decarbonize the local economy and diversify it at the same time. Because as Mallorca, as you know, is a very touristic region and island, and so the main income for the island really is from tourism. So the idea here was also to diversify the activities a bit, and in order not to be so dependent on tourism. So here again, so the green hydrogen system that is being built there does focus on tourism applications, of course, like use for rental cars, use as backup power in hotels, but also using it for the injection of green hydrogen into a natural gas pipeline. So the blending approach is being used here. And actually, I can show you that better in the graph here, maybe. So we have the injection into the gas grid there, using it for municipal buildings, using it for hotel buildings on the left, and then using it for local transport in the capital of Palma, for public buses, and then also using fuel cell-based CHP systems in the hotels there, and then in the port, finally, for a ferry terminal. So it's quite an extensive project, but in an island context. So that's why we also refer to this type of hydrogen valley as hydrogen islands. But it's just it's a name tag really, because at the end of the day, it's still the hydrogen valley concept. So now some lessons learned from these experiences are that there are certainly some challenges on the road to getting to a valley. They can be financial, of course, a biggie, an obvious biggie, because you need to have quite large amounts of funding available. You probably have an idea of it already at this point from the work that I know you've been doing on here in Košice and the bigger region up to Ukraine. So the funding structure for the different parties and the different activities, they need to be sorted. Defining business models, that's a key bit and a very complex bit, because of course realities change, prices change. So this is something that needs to be almost updated on a regular basis as well. Then comes the management of all these people. You see all these people in the room. So we need to create PPPs, we need to create structures of how we can work together, what legal structures we work on. So these are all questions that need to be solved and that are indeed critical for the success of it. Social challenges like public awareness and acceptance, I mentioned already. Operational competence, like do we actually have people that are skilled in using the hydrogen infrastructure we're going to put forward? So these are questions that shouldn't be underestimated, because at the end of the day, you need to have people on the ground that are actually doing the work and that are, applying, that are standing at the HRSs, that are, filling up the trucks, cars, whatever it might be that you have coming through there. So you need to train these guys, or girls, it doesn't have to be guys. And so these are things that, as we say, the devil is in the detail. And the more you think about, the more you realize that there's a lot of detailed work that needs to be put into these things. Of course, the political framework needs to be right. Do we have policy objectives that are going in this direction? I heard very gladly that there is a regional strategy for hydrogen already in place for the Košice region, so that's a great start. So that means you will have some local, also political acceptance of, what you want to do here. You have a driving power and indeed a purpose of where you want to go as a region from a hydrogen point of view, which can then rally support for getting partners on board that might not be on board yet. And it will help you to, just drive things forward from from a political angle and help also perhaps to get local funding for these things. As you mentioned before, Patrick mentioned that quite nicely, that of course, it's always just co-funding that you might be able to get from European sources. So there will always be a need for more regional, national funding, private funding. It has to be a combination of those. And then, of course, you need to have the legal framework also from a technical point of view. The standards, the regulations for actually being able to deploy the hydrogen technology. So these are things that need to be taken into account. So these are more of the technical challenges. So I've got here, this is going quite into a lot of detail, so I'm not sure we can sort of go through all of that and if you can even see it very well. But in order to have these challenges sorted, so just some ideas of what can be done. So of course, you need to have, from a policy point of view, to align your local objectives. They should be aligned with the national and then also with the EU level, and make sure that that's aligned with the economic framework as well that is there. There should be a focus on also incentivizing green hydrogen production, including manufacturing capacity. That's something that can be done on a political level. And in terms of social challenges, how can they be sorted? Well, basically, you can work on the public awareness, as I was mentioning before, but really do that, and that's something we can say from our experience, really do that right from the start. Don't wait until the first HRS might be operational. Don't wait until that happens. Start now. It's great to see there with flags out there at the entrance. I took pictures of it just to show that, okay, there is something happening here today in Košice. We haven't got anything right now, but people walking by can already see that there is something happening. I would hope that there would be also some kind of press appearance maybe coming out of this. Make sure to do all of this stuff so that you can basically bring the people with you as you move forward. And also from a technological point of view, make sure that there's always contingencies. That's something that, is not a popular word maybe, but it's critical, because experience has shown, that certainly our experience has shown that timescales often get extended, costs become greater than they were initially planned for. So these are things that do need to be taken into account. And incorporate indeed experience from those that have done it before, because let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's learn from what has been done already. There are, as has been shown in the previous presentations, there are now hydrogen valleys being deployed all over the place. And even though a lot of them are still only PowerPoints, there are some, like the ones we've been showing this morning, that are being deployed as we speak. So do use these experiences, make sure there is some information sharing, that there is some lessons learned coming into those, into your project. And yeah, make sure also to involve the local off-takers and regional off-takers right from the start, because without them, you just can't do it. So with that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask them now. I'm not sure if we've got question time, or otherwise later on in the round tables and bilaterally.
Yeah. Would you like to have some questions right now, please, ladies and gentlemen? There is a chance right now to do.
I'm not sure there is any.
No, probably there is no. Thank you very much,
Seems
Catherine.
like everything was clear.
Yeah. Thank you very much. The last speaker for today's session is Mr. Marko Bahor from Slovenia, from Slovenské elektrárne, and his topic will be North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley. And without further ado, just let's start. And this will be the last presentation before I will announce the coffee break, much needed one. So enjoy the presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at first, so thank you for your invitation. I'm very glad to be here with you. Of course, Slovenia and Slovakia, so and also Slovenska elektrárne and holding Slovenska elektrárne. Okay, a lot of things are common, but anyhow, just to. So we, as a leading partner of the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley, which is currently in the grant agreement preparation phase, so I can speak about the lessons learned till now, because we are not yet signed the grant agreement, and maybe this will be useful for all future applications or projects which are intended to apply in future years for the green hydrogen partnership. At first, okay, just to Slovenia, so just to give you an impression, so we are one of the, so in Slovenia we have two pillars in the production of electrical energy. We are the biggest. We are producing roughly 65% of the electricity produced in Slovenia. So we have 2 megawatts of the installed power. So blue are hydropower plants, so River Soča near Italy, River Sava through the Slovenia, and River Drava in this part of the Slovenia. Besides that, we have also a thermal power plant and the lignite mine nearby. And of course, we have started to building large-scale photovoltaics at the close to our locations, where we have no problem with the spatial planning. Main numbers, so this is for year 2021, because the numbers for the year 2022 are not yet publicly published, so I cannot show you. But anyhow, 3 billion and more than 3,000 employees, 1,300 related to the lignite mine. Our development plan, so we are today here, we have something less than 53% of the electricity produced from the renewable sources. And of course, according to our plan, in year 2033, we have to switch off our thermal power plant. So this gray area will simply vanish. Of course, we will help us a little bit with the gas turbines. And for sure, here the help with the hydrogen will be needed, especially we have saw that yesterday the price of the CO2 carbon has jumped this magic level. And of course, in year 2034, so we are roughly in the 80% of the portfolio produced from the renewable sources. Here is CO2 footprint through the years and through the technologies. Of course, this contribution of the thermal power plant is huge, and also the impact into the reduction is huge when we will switch off. Okay, hydrogen strategies by countries. We are not proud, but fortunately we are here in the accompanied with the Cyprus, Latvia, and Malta. We are the laggards, and also this project will help Slovenia to somehow join to the other countries. Okay, no published strategy yet. We have integrated something to national energy and climate plan, and into the Slovenia long-term climate strategy. Of course, hydrogen strategy of Slovenia has to appear in near future. The target, so the background which we have in Slovenia is okay. 10% share of methane by 2030, and replacement of natural gas with synthetic gas and hydrogen till 2050, but all those targets have to be updated according to the Recovery EU 255. So this is something from the past, but this is the state at is. And North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley. So just to give you a picture how everything has started. So we have started with a conference organized by the company eCubes and the Clean Hydrogen Partnership in November 21. This is important because after that, those old valleys which have been already somehow in the performing phase, and also our new phase, coming valleys have been announced by our presidentin, very close to the, so very soon after this conference. And for sure, okay, the conference, then was a letter of intent signed between the institutional partners, so that means ministry in Slovenia, ministry in Croatia, and the regional council of the Julijska Krajina, Friuli Veneto Giulia, okay, and the formation of a joint working group. So at the institutional level between all three countries, because we're speaking here about the first cross-border hydrogen valley, and Croatia, Italy, and the north part of the Italy. Then call for the applications in the March. Then this joint working group has been really formed as a, so it has been empowered. Then joint working group has appointed Area Science Park as a technical partner. Then Italy, government of the Italy has signed the letter of support regarding the financial support also with the Friuli Venezia Giulia region. Then joint working group has appointed us as a lead partner. And you can see that in the very short period, we have been forced to somehow prepare an application. We succeeded, and we have presented this at the next hydrogen ecosystem conference in Nova Gorica. We have get evaluation summary this January. We have been very happy and proud of that. But of course, we are now in the preparation phase of the grant agreement and the consortium agreement. So we are again in the time pressure because everything has to be done till to the 23rd of the May. And of course, it's not easy. We have 34 partners, and this is a challenging thing. This is what Bart has been spoken before. So we are here, and all the others are two big hydrogen valleys are currently in the grant agreement preparation phase, and 7 small. I do hope that all of 9 will succeed. This is what has been already told. So what is Hydrogen Valley? I will not repeat, just highlights. I will jump that. So sector coupling, clear plants, Catherine has explained in very detail because you have already finished the project, and you are the most experienced with that, and also Patrick. Okay, and the big challenge was production of 5,000 tons of renewable hydrogen. When we have started to speak with our partners, we have started with the 13,000 ton, 13,000. At the end, we have finished at the 5,900. So if we will start with the 6,000, then we will not reach the target. Okay. Maybe this is better than the text. Okay, you can see the Slovenia, Croatia, Italy, institutional partners, all three ministries. We have research community, so university of each region. Then we have partners from Slovenia, from Croatia, from Italy, and we have also the partner outside the territory, which is it is from the Aragon. You can see here different companies. If we put this into the chart, it looks like that. If we go into how the hydrogen is produced and what is the, let's say, estimated flow of the hydrogen, and what is the cross-border, because besides the requirement of the 5,000 renewable hydrogen established production facilities, there is also a requirement to assure 20% of this hydrogen to be used cross-border. And here is this 5,900 tons per year, and we come to the estimated cross-border exchange, 1,200. Here is the graph, so how it is produced, how it is consumed, but maybe this is the better to have everything in one table. So you can see production of the hydrogen, and then estimated consumption by sector, and you can see also here we are from the sector of the energy. We have here the glass, we have cement production in Slovenia. Then in Croatia we have transport company, also the new company in the energy. Then hard to abate industries like a cement industry. In Italy we have steel producers, so hard to abate industry. We have also the energy company, so the gas, and also transport. So we have put all together, so industry, energy, transport, and if you summarize then, so this is this 1,900 and how we will consume it. Financial overview, which is every time, so what we are speaking about the money. So this call will assure 25 million euro. The institutional partners or the states have promised roughly 200 million euro. And of course, to gap for the infrastructure for the hydrogen will be that, and this have to be covered by the other funds. And this is then the total number if we speak about all other things regarding the sources for renewable energy needed for the hydrogen production. If we jump just to our project, because currently I'm not in the power to speak about the other 18 projects. So we have 34 partners, and within this we have 18 projects. So currently we have the production of the hydrogen, but this is, let's say, gray-brown hydrogen. We are producing hydrogen for the cooling of the generators of the two thermal power plants we have there. We have there assess. This is alkaline electrolyzer, and we have here assess of the hydrogen. We will at first put this to the refueling station and to enable the start of the local transport for testing of the local transport with one bus powered by hydrogen. Then we will go further with the establishing of the electrolyzers to produce, and then to produce at first the small and then the large scale of the hydrogen, with this target which we have put into the our project. And of course, in parallel, we have to establish the source for this renewable electrical energy, which is currently into the procedure of the spatial planning in the different locations in Slovenia. So lessons learned till now. But first, startup company as a partner might be an issue, you know. So it is a matter of the resources. Then small companies or companies with questionable financial resources might be an issue. Important is introduction and role of the institutional partners, because institutional partners are making the policies, helping into the co-financing, is establishing everything, you know, the let's say the fishbone of the complete financial structure, and this is important to put them into the right role and the active role. Otherwise, this will be a problem. So limit time needed for formation of joint working group. When we speak about the cross-border, so we have decided to go with the joint working group established on the institutional level, and the call has been published in December. We have had practically 6 months to prepare applications, but this formation of the joint working group and the start of the operation of everything has consumed 4.5 months, and then practically 6 weeks have left to prepare application and put everything together. Limit number of partners. Because of this, you know, short short time frame, it was impossible, you know, to discuss who can be participated there, who not, and we have jumped into the project with the 34 partners. We will see that this will be a very challenging project from the leading partner point of view, even now when in the process of the preparation of a grant agreement and signing of a consortium agreement. So, because of course, every partner has his internal approval process. So, legal departments, all other things, and this is something what is we are now in those things, and it is very challenging. So thank you. We have had this proverb is very useful, you know, to do something in a short part of the time, and this is what give us a courage and help us to survive all the process till now. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, and I will be not wasting your time. Pre-information, we will continue the program 20 minutes past 11 because we have a delay. Thank you very much for all the speakers, and the third, who are the ones from you who are interested. The bikes are there. The hydrogen-powered bikes are there downstairs. You can try them. And Katharina, my apologies for making a mess. Enjoy the refreshment. So far, it's great.
Servus.
morning again. I have changed the microphone. I hope that you can hear me properly. So the next stage, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests and panelists, is going to be called East Carpathian Hydrogen Volley. It will consist of several speakers and will be wrapped up by Bart himself, which is going to be perfect, I guess, before the lunchtime, kind of the appetizing before we eat the proper food. And the first speakers are both from the self-governing region of Košice, Mr. Ovčerka and Dr. Sisakova. I would like to ask them for joining the stage and open the second session from the open. Here, please.
Thank you.
Zobereš. So hello again, and now we're gonna present from the perspective of the Košice self-governing region how we moved from creating documents on the paper and adapting the hydrogen strategy to the real steps, still on the paper, but very close to a real tangible future. I'm the one who is economist and making the Excel tables and calculating things. And Dr. Sisakova Katarina, my colleague, is the project manager in our team of regional department at the Košice self-governing region, who is really the expert into the hydrogen technologies and can really say to us whether we are writing or imagining some fairy tales or if the things come into the reality. So we are very happy and glad that we have some colleagues who are experts in the topic and can work together with the policymakers and with the economists in order to prepare some substantial model for our bright future. First of all, as I mentioned, we started with a hydrogen strategy, and it's thanks to our office in Brussels, namely Sergej Kopeták, who is here today with us, and also Maroš Halaba, who contributed in preparation. And we did this paper, which is excellent step forward and motivates us to go further. It was mentioned several times today in the presentations of our distinguished guests that this is the new era, new technology, and you have to undertake some risks in the implementation. Well, the self-governing office took some risks, for instance, with geothermal energy, drilling from its budget over €2 million contribution, the 2.7 kilometer deep drill with proved water of over 120 degrees. So we count with this project and particles in the puzzle towards the future of the hydrogen volley here in Košice. What I wanted to mention is that we're presenting our ideas now concerning the hydrogen volley from the strategy and from our own steps and competencies. So do not consider it that if we do not talk about the US Steel, which is from the large scale perspective, the main stakeholder of the volley, that we omit to put it in the presentation. But we don't want to talk about things that will be presented by more competent persons. So I just wanted to make sure at the beginning the understanding why certain things are not in our presentation. So as I mentioned several times, we had the hydrogen strategy, but it goes hand in hand together with the innovation strategy, regional innovation strategy, out of which we created the innovation and set up the innovation center of Košice region, and we are building up this entity in order to service the young talents and entrepreneurs and SMEs doing some kind of programs. And of course, they are integrated and cooperating with us on the hydrogen strategy and project implementation. So we can move forward. From the paper, the steps that we taken was that we joined the national Hydrogen Association of Slovakia. And we already signed some cooperations and memorandums, for instance, with Faculty of Aeronautics, Faculty of Materials Metallurgy, and Faculty Mining, Faculty of Machinery. Also, we partner with Moravian Silesian region, but I will explain later on why. And based on some market research studies and advices, we found out that we need for the hydrogen production in-house some technology partner. So we had some negotiations, and it came out that we started to partner with the local waste management company who owns and operates the incineration plant here in Košice, but they will have also the presentation, so I don't want to tell anything which will be presented later on. But we established and went through the regional council with approval of establishing the entity. It's called W2H2, which means and stands for waste to hydrogen. So we're planning to install close to the incineration plant the electrolyzer and produce the hydrogen to cover the consumption of the buses and the other means of transport and projects that we intend to carry out in a close future. So pilot projects that we already ran are the bicycles. They are in the yard of this nice building. I apologize for the cold, but you see how important it is to recover you now. So feel free during the breaks to take some short journey and test the bikes. They're really powerful. In the Hydrogen Volley project, we count with the buses. Maybe Katarina can tell we're piloting with 10 and then we scale up.
We actually start the first steps in order to rent few types of buses in order to collect important data, so we can now manage to choose the right type of hydrogen bus. The first pilot project should be 10 hydrogen buses. The route should be from Košice to Valelky Industrial Park, Volvo, where the park started working from the 2026. So this is the year that we would like to also start our pilot hydrogen mobility project. For the hydrogen bicycle, we already bought, as Maciej mentioned. And another very interesting project that we are currently working with Moravian Silesian region and Technical University is hydrogen ships, actually 2 ships. It should be placed here in our region, and it should be used for tourism. So it's another consumer of hydrogen, and I think a really interesting project for the public.
And we are partnering with the machinery faculty of the Technical University because we would like to utilize, as I mentioned in the opening speech, the company Rochero. They were on the exhibition together. They created and developed the metal hydride storage in the fuel cell run bus, which is constructed in Košice region, in Spišská Nová Ves. And this technology we would like to utilize in the boats. It's a heavy storage of the hydrogen. It's very, very safe technology, and we would like to use it and utilize it in boat. That's why we have follow-up on a memorandum that we signed. We have already agreement with the university. We funded the research and application of the storage into the boat. And we would like to have outcomes, not only cruising boat for the tourism, like 40, 60 passengers, but we would like to see also the applications to the river, to other means of use in the marine or ship industry. And where we got the example is the Moravian Silesian region. It's a proof that we are talking with the public, because one NGO, which is taking care of the cleanliness of the Ružin Dam, which is close to Košice, they were starting to talk to us whether we can support them and whether we can support them with the cleaning of the area and what we can do for the future of development of the sustainable tourism. And they invited us that they are already partnering with the Moravian Silesian region who procured the electric boat. So we went there. It was quite nice, but we were talking why to purchase the electric boat for Ružin Dam if we have the strategy and we want to go for the hydrogen. So this is how it started, that the public were approaching us. We were open for discussion, and we found partners in the foreign and found the possibility and utilization of already research and development done at the university. So it's quite a nice story that I'm telling.
So we said what we already done. Now let's talk what are our plans and hopes for future. As Maciej mentioned, we create together with the waste managing company Košice, company Waste to Hydrogen, W2H2. The company should produce green hydrogen, and we will power our regional buses with this green hydrogen. Besides buses, we would like to implement another trucks, forklifts, heavy-duty vehicles, and also, as was mentioned, the cruise ships. The first pilot project, as I mentioned, was 10 hydrogen buses, but the next step is another 70 buses, which should go through routes from Košice to Michalovce and back, and from Košice to Spišská Nová Ves and back. So the filling station will be placed in Košice, and the bus should go from the one filling of hydrogen to the Michalovce and back to Košice to another filling. Yeah, so that I think is basically it, and we don't have much more time. So I would just quickly mention that we can announce that we were successful in project development assistance, which we get from Clean Hydrogen Partnership. Thank you. Our next step is to commitment to join the European Hydrogen Volleys S3 partnership, which we already are managing. And our next step, which we already starting and preparing, is to prepare a hydrogen volley proposal for hydrogen volley call. So that's our steps, and we wouldn't be so successful without our partners. So thank you very much for them, and thank you for your attention.
Thanks. It was brilliant. GM for strategy of US Steel. If you would be saying US Steel 10 years ago, 15 years ago, in my mind would be dirt and something really bad for Eastern Slovakia. But this guy connects like the Oxford, as I can recall, the practice of consultant in foreign countries. And now this guy is a decarbonization in the Eastern of Slovakia. And I would like to say that if I am looking forward to any of presentation, this is the one. Because the green steel doesn't feel right, but he's going to change it. So enjoy.
No, thank you very much for the kind words. I think you've oversold it, so now I have a very high bar to meet, but I'll do my best. Anyhow, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What I would like to outline in the next couple of 10 minutes is how we are thinking about making steel in a greener way here in Košice, and what role hydrogen can play within, and how we're thinking about potentially using hydrogen mainly in the long run. Before I start, we are a part of a publicly traded company, and we are pretty strict lawyers, so I'm obliged to start with a disclaimer, but I don't want to bore you to death. So very, very quickly, what I'm about to share are our plans and our analyses and options we are exploring. To move forward, we need approvals of our board of directors, which we are working towards, but we're not there yet. But we're working hard together with my esteemed colleagues in the audience. So that's it. With that out of the way, what are the key messages that I'd like you to take away from this little talk is steel is not only essential for our industry and our society today, but we firmly believe that steel is the backbone of the green economy of tomorrow, and I'll explain why. We at USSK have been working hard for the past couple of years and are still working even harder on defining what greener steel production in the region may look like. And hydrogen will likely or could play an important role in decarbonization of steel production, especially in the long term, as I said. And again, I'll try to explain what I mean by that and how hydrogen could fit into some of our other plans that you may have heard about or read about in the media. I think just earlier this week, there was an article about potential electrification of USSK, and I'll get to it as well. So, how many objects made of steel have you touched today since you got up until you got here, and maybe while you are here, right? For some it's a few, for some it's many, but I think you'll all agree that our society is made on steel, and steel is a fabric of our life, as one of our competitors puts it. But what we firmly believe in is that steel is an essential material for many green technologies that are about to boom. Just to give you two very concrete examples. When you look at renewable power generation, solar panels, their construction requires about 30 tons of steel per 1 megawatt. But when you look at wind, for example, one wind turbine requires about 200 tons of steel per 1 megawatt. So take your typical offshore turbine of about 12 megawatts, and you get almost 250 tons of steel just for one wind turbine. Electric cars are another hot topic, especially in this region with Volvo coming. And again, steel is essential for electric cars for two reasons. One, their bodies or chassis or body in white, if you will. New types of steel are needed to offset the increased weight driven by batteries, but obviously to maintain and ideally even improve safety. But what I guess even more interesting is that for the powertrain or drivetrain of an electric car, you need about 100 kilos of what we call thin, non-grain-oriented electrical steel. And that's very different compared to current cars with internal combustion engines. And in addition to the aspect of new technologies, that many of you know that steel can be recycled forever and is very easy to recycle. So once it's made, it can stay with us for centuries. And that's why steel is an essential or the ultimate material for a circular economy, which is again, one of the goals of the European Union. So having now established that, and I hope you believe me, that steel is here to stay and very important for our future, I want to take you on a very short tour of what we do and what we make and how we make it at US Steel, about 15 kilometers south of here. So we make about 4 million tons of steel every year, which makes us the largest flat steel producer in the region of at least the Visegrad 4. We export vast majority of our products, so over 95% to other countries, and we serve over 500 customers in a wide range of industries, from automotive to home appliance manufacturing, to your general application in construction, heavy machinery, and so on. But we also make steel for food cans, for example. Our production today relies upon coal and fossil fuels. And just to give you an example, we need about, my colleagues will tell me it's not the exact number, but roughly 500 kilos of coal to make 1 ton of steel. And that, combined with some other fossil fuels that we use, such as natural gas or steam coal, gives us a CO2 intensity of about 2 tons of CO2 per ton of steel. So there are some people who say if they want to make fun of the steel industry, they say that the main product of the steel industry is not steel but CO2 because of this ratio. But And we acknowledge that and recognize it. And also that combined with EU targets for climate and the changing regulation, increasing CO2 costs and so on, we are working hard on putting together a very concrete, feasible, and practical plan to reduce CO2 of our production, keep our production volume, and ideally also improve our capabilities in the process. And we believe that we can reduce our CO2 footprint by about 70% fairly quickly. And that relies upon three key pillars. One is transferring about 3/4 of our production to electric steelmaking. This is the part that you have probably seen in the media, and we're now working on permitting. The environmental impact assessment is out there, so we are hard at work. The second part is improving the CO2 footprint of what we call the integrated production route, so the blast furnace and our steel shop. And there, together with the colleagues, we have a pipeline of smaller projects which will help us incrementally reduce CO2 on that production route. And obviously, and that's the topic of today's event, we're looking at new technologies, namely hydrogen, potentially carbon capture and storage and utilization, to help us reduce our CO2 footprint even further. Obviously, as we are a business, technological maturity, associated costs, capital, operating are key factors driving the business cases that we need for the transformation. And we're not the only ones, as I'll show you at the very end. But let's maybe zoom in on hydrogen and where that could help us reduce CO2. We've split this into sort of three categories, or maybe even horizons or phases, if you will. Some of you saw yesterday that we currently use hydrogen in our processes in what we call our downstream operations in the annealing of cold-rolled material or cold-rolled steels, and we make that hydrogen from ammonia. Obviously, given the hazards associated with it, the carbon footprint of producing ammonia, this is the first and the most natural step to start talking about green hydrogen at USSK. The next horizon could be replacing fossil fuels on our existing equipment with minor tweaks. For example, we're watching closely how some of our competitors are experimenting with hydrogen in their blast furnaces. Also, some leading equipment manufacturers have announced or published are bringing to market burners that utilize hydrogen instead of natural gas. And this is something that could help us in, for example, our hot strip mill or some other places within the facility where we currently burn natural gas. And I've kept the last thing and the biggest thing until the end. And this is what would be by far the largest hydrogen consumer far and wide, and that's hydrogen-based direct reduction of iron ore. Today, there are a few units in operation across the world that leverage this process and natural gas, use about 10 gigajoules of natural gas per ton of product. For hydrogen, this would be about 55 to 70 kilos of hydrogen per 1 ton. Typical sizing of this unit is about 2 million tons per year, which if you combine that, if this was to be powered by hydrogen, it would need a gigawatt scale electrolyzer to make the hydrogen to make this happen. And then when you look at the energy consumption associated with this, you're looking at to make hydrogen and then to make DRI using hydrogen, that's about 3 megawatt hours of electricity per ton of product, which is quite a bit considering that it should be green electricity without any CO2 footprint. But again, I'll get to that aspect later, because when we talk about a potential transformation of the steel industry, there are a few challenges, to say the least. One is the capital intensity, especially of this one last step, which costs about 1 billion euro per 1 unit. So it's a significant capital expense on which there has to be a return. For example, ArcelorMittal is now thinking about building this in Spain, and they're working on getting hydrogen for about €1.80 per kilo, which is where this technology breaks even. Obviously, it's easier in a country down south where they have a lot of solar, potentially wind, but that's roughly the economics of it. And we're not the only ones who are saying this or who are seeing this. This is a page from our industry association called Eurofair, who have put together some sort of framework on what needs to happen for the European steel industry to transform and to tackle the challenges associated with the transformation. So very quickly, what is required is our customers to want greener steels and to be able to pay for it and willing to pay for it, because steel made in a greener way is going to be anywhere between 35 to 100% more expensive to make than our current process today, and that factors in the CO2 as well. Secondly, the steel industry in Europe has to be protected, appropriately protected, obviously, but from unfair competition, because it doesn't make sense for EU to destroy the industry and then import all the steel from India or China, where it's not made in a green way, right? Arcelor has now come under a lot of fire recently, because while they announced a decarbonization strategy for Europe, they're building more blast furnaces powered by coal in India. So, from a global stance, doesn't sound right, to say the least. Now it's the energy. As I said, about 3 megawatt hours per ton of DRI, or direct reduced iron. When you look at all the projects that have been announced that European steelmakers are thinking about, the number is huge. It's about 400 terawatt hours of green electricity, new green electricity, that is needed to power that transformation. And last but not least, I've already mentioned the capital intensity. So USSK and other competitors, we're very vocal about the need for some co-funding from public sources to make this happen and to convince the shareholders that there is a return and that there are sound business cases to be had, and then there is a value creation story. So that's about it. Just to summarize, we understand that we are the largest CO2 emitter in the country and are working hard to change that. Hydrogen can play an important role in our transformation, potentially further down the line, but if the business case is okay, it can be sooner. And we are very open to any ideas and discussions that may come out of this networking and this event. Thank you.
Many thanks. It was full of energy. I liked it. I hope you liked it too. It was beautiful. The next speaker is Mr. Rastislav Zeleniak from the EU stream, and his focus will be of transporting of the hydrogen. So the floor is yours, and enjoy the presentation. Sorry for making it so quick. We have to. You're going to be hungry soon.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's a pleasure to present you our presentation, which had been prepared for this auditorium. Basically, I'm working in the synergy department, and our hot topics are related to the hydrogen. Just to give you some information about our company. So VRT is a transmission system operator. More than 50 years we are transporting gas. So we already transmitted more than 2.6 trillion cubic meters of gas. Last year we had technical capacity 78 BCM per year, and technical capacity of the entry point of Czech Republic is 55. So we have more than 2,000 kilometers of pipes, mostly 1,200 and 1,400. 4 and 5 parallel lines, so it means fifth pipeline is looping, sometimes is, sometimes not, but definitely we have 4 pipes along our country. We have we had 5 compressor stations. Fifth was put it into operation in 2020, but nowadays we decided to decommission 1 compressor station, so currently we have 4 compressor stations. Our operation pressure is 7.3 megapascal, 73 bars, so it's a huge pressure. So this is regarding the gas, natural gas. Of course, I'm here because I was invited to speak something about hydrogen, and in our company, hydrogen is very important. We are focusing on repurposing and preparing our pipeline system and compressor units to be able to transmit natural gas, blending gas, or pure hydrogen. The region where is located our pipeline system or the area is unique because, of course, our country is in the middle of many other companies and in the many other countries. So because we are in the middle, so we have to do something for improving transmission of the hydrogen and developing the markets related to the hydrogen as well. We are also part of the initiatives, European Hydrogen Backbone, Hydrogen EU Store, CEC, so it means Central European Hydrogen Corridor, and we are also part of the Sunshine. Basically, our colleagues, or my colleagues, are active in those initiatives, and we are cooperating with the TSOs along our European. Now, this is the key, what I want to present you. So now you see our transmission network. The blue one curve is dedicated to the hydrogen. So we already calculated, and we know that the capacity on the entry point to Veľké Kapušany, it's, I don't know if this works, oops. It's in here. So we can have it there, roughly 10 gigawatt energy applied in the hydrogen. On the entry-exit point, which is here in Czech side or in Austrian side, we can dedicate 6 gigawatt capacity of hydrogen on both sides. This is the splitting node, and of course, I would like to mention also that we are discussing a lot of things also with our colleagues from Hungarian side, Rugas-Szállító, and this is the potential connection also to Hungary. So basically, we can transmit the hydrogen through our pipeline system up to west and back as well, if needed, or at least to the Hungary if needed and requested. So what we need support from your side, Bart, and to develop these projects. We know how to do it. We know roughly what will be cost of the repurposing of the pipeline. And of course, we have to sit together with colleagues, maybe from US Steel and from other companies, and to discuss what is capable and what is possible to prepare for Hydrogen Valley, for example, in Košice. The second Hydrogen Valley, I think, could be somewhere in here, so in our country, basically because there is also, there are some other companies as well, Duslo-Šala, and also Slovnaft, it's in MOL group, so they need also a little bit clean up their production. Regarding those projects, I should say that they are candidates of common interests, and hopefully we will get some support. Regarding the valley in US Steel and basically in the Košice, as I said before, we can select one pipe from those 4 or 5 and prepare the pipeline up to Belgia. This is the Bowel station. You can see it here. In the pipe, we can accumulate, if this is just from here up to here, more than 200 tons of hydrogen. If the pipe will be a little bit longer, up to the second compressor station, we can accumulate into the pipe more than 400 tons. This is the line pack, which can be used in case there will be some problems with the production. This is, of course, by the 40 bars. If in the pipeline will be 40 bars, 4 megapascal. Basically, what we need to sit together and speak about how to connect US Steel Košice, maybe from that side, maybe from the other side. This must be developed and this must be discussed and designed. So, the pipe will be 1200, so quite big. We can really accumulate a lot of hydrogen in the pipe itself. The last slide I wanted to show you, we are not just waiting and sitting, but we also, of course, are preparing some small projects. We are working on those projects, and of course, we are candidates of some projects. I took only 3 very important projects we have at the moment in hands. That's the small hydrogen laboratory. We are testing some materials in the small laboratory. It's in here, it's pressurized with the hydrogen. So we have tested in here sealings, gaskets, and also materials which is used in our pipeline system. And then have been tested in welding laboratory. Also, we are working on the blending up to 5%, which has to be done till the October 2025. So we know that there is discussion maybe about 2%, 5% doesn't matter, but we are challenging 5%. So this is our target. And also our project together with other colleagues have been prepared for IPSA. So this is the infrastructure transmission project, R&D project with FID. So basically we want to test in these test lines materials. We want to develop hydrogen coating painting, which will be painted inside the pipe on the risky areas, for example, welds and around the welds, and other risky areas, and protect the pipeline system against any damages. This is at the moment, I think, or I should say openly, in some delay. We expected that this will be finished, this discussion around selection of the projects sooner. We expected to have it some decision at beginning of 2021, at least at the end 2022. But nowadays there is still under discussion, and we don't know if this project will be in the real life. So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions.
Many thanks. Before we will come to the 3 speakers, which I call nails to the coffin, because they're going to be really important, these 3 last one. The presentation which comes now is connected to Košice brand and to local production, which is already going on in Košice. Then we will continue with our Ukrainian friend and guests, and Jan and Bart. So enjoy the next one. Thanks so much. Thanks.
Dá sa s tým aj svietiť? Okay. Okay, thanks. Firstly, let me introduce myself. My name is Ladislav Halas. I'm technical director of company Košicko. And as Matej Ovčárka mentioned at the first presentation, this is our common or mutual project between Košice self-governing region and the waste management company Košicko. Last year, firstly, we signed a memorandum of understanding between these two entities or these two parts. The target of this company with the name of W2H2 or from waste to hydrogen is producing or generation hydrogen from waste in the waste to energy plant. Storage this hydrogen, transport hydrogen to point of consumption. I mentioned waste to energy plant, which produce power and heat from municipal solid waste. Thanks to biomass, which contain mixed solid waste, more than 50%, we can classify this power and heat like a renewable source of energy. The four main roles of this new company is that I repeat: generation hydrogen, storage hydrogen, and transport the hydrogen to point of consumption. And the point of consumption or the consumption of hydrogen will be or hydrogen will be used like a fuel for public buses or public transport. This joint venture company is 50-50, 50% Košice, 50% Košice self-governing region. Basic asset of this joint venture company is 50,000 euro, and like extension or extension of scope of this project is creation of new PV plant, photovoltaic plant for production of green electricity. Matej Ovčárka presented role of Košice, self-governing region, and let me introduce a little bit company Košicko. Company Košicko is a leading company in the waste management in Slovakia. You can see on the map where are we located. Our headquarters is here in Košice, and our owner or the ownership structure is 95% of investment group Wood and Company, and 5% is the city of Košice. Here in Slovakia, we have two waste to energy plant. One is in Bratislava, second one is in Košice, and we are operator of this plant. Generally speaking, we treat more than 300,000 tons of waste per year, and half of them we are able to treat in our waste to energy plant, and unfortunately the second half of this amount of waste we are still landfilling on the landfill. But as I will present later, I'm sure that this situation will change very, very quickly. Last year we produced about 50 gigawatt hour electricity and almost 100 gigawatt heat production, which we deliver to the district heating system. On the right side, you can see our main clients. Maybe I can mention automotive company Jaguar Land Rover in Nitra. Okay, how it works in our waste to energy plant. Currently, we operate 2 lines. It's identical. Each line is able to treat around 20 ton municipal solid waste per year. We use the great system for incineration or energy recovery of waste. The boiler output is on line 1 almost 21 megawatt, and on the second line 24 megawatt. The production of heat and electricity I mentioned, and what is maybe important that line 1 is dedicated only for heat production, and line 2 is dedicated for power production. I mentioned that situation concerning the treatment of waste will change very rapidly. I can say it because our project for construction 3rd line is now at the end of the environmental impact assessment project. That means like last year, we launched the permitting process for the 3rd line. The first step is environmental impact assessment, and now we are on the last step of this permitting process. The final statement of Ministry of Environment was issued, and we are waiting for validity of this final statement. What does it mean? 3rd line. 3rd line will be really state-of-the-art, great incinerator for municipal solid waste. Capacity will be around 12 ton waste per hour, and boiler output will be 35 megawatt. CHP, that means combined heat and power production. Heat production will be around 50 gigawatt heat per year, and power production will be around 39 gigawatt per year. Pardon. Currently, we deliver our heat via district heating system to 4,000 households in Košice and around 20,000 households concerning the power. One extra plant which we operate from the last year is the biogas station, which treat biological waste, or only biological waste, especially kitchen waste. And this plant is able to also be included in this project for production green power. Okay, I don't want to waste your time by waste, but this is the last slide concerning the waste. Idea is to collect the waste from the city or from the regions, collect and bring to the waste to energy plant, when we produce from this waste power and electricity, from power and heat, and from heat and power we can produce hydrogen. This idea is not very, not our original idea, because the same concept exists in Germany, in city of Wuppertal. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they launched this project, and now it's successfully operated. But now we are in the hydrogen. Maybe I can transform the French phrase "chercher la femme," look for hydrogen, and the crucial item, crucial question, key question is how to produce hydrogen. And in our pre-feasibility study, we compare two types of electrolyzers. First one is high temperature electrolyzers, and second one is PEM electrolyzers. You can see some technical specification for each electrolyzers, and from point of view our situation when we produce power but also heat, the most suitable is these high temperature electrolyzers, which can count or which use also heat in form of steam for production of hydrogen. The production of hydrogen in compare with the PME electrolyzer is around 35% more, and this is our new idea, or this is the new concept. Use this type of electrolyzers in our sector or segment for hydrogen production. On this slide, you can see basic scheme of hydrogen production. It means 3 pieces of electrolyzers with output 1 megawatt. In total, we will be able to produce around 700 tons of hydrogen per year, and this is enough amount of hydrogen for fueling around 50,000 buses, which Košice self-governing region count in account. You can see the electrolyzers, compressors, storage tanks, and also trailer, which will deliver fuel or hydrogen from point of generation to point of consumption. Maybe for participants which are out of Košice, we are situated on the city district Barca, very close to the big wastewater treatment plant. You can see here our waste energy plant and biogas plant, and here is area or surface dedicated for this project from waste to hydrogen. Very quickly concerning the time plan, the first line is done. We signed a memorandum of understanding, and also we established company, joint venture company based to hydrogen. Currently, we are working on really feasibility study and plot acquisition, and we have started also preparing EIA study, this environmental impact assessment study for this project. And then the next steps are zoning permit, construction permit, let's find the EPC contractor, and at the end of the 2025, we are expecting to start fueling first buses. Okay, first part of this conference will be dedicated for different financial instruments and funds which can help to develop Hydrogen Valley here in Eastern Slovakia, and we count with all these instruments. That means our own financial funds, national budget, EU funds, and of course financial financement from the third parties. From my side, that's all.
Many thanks. Many thanks to Mr. Halas from Košice, and leaving the home soil and Slovakia for a moment, and the brand which comes now is Ukrainian Hydrogen Council, and the presenter's name is Alexander Yepkin, a really nice guy. We've spent together a valuable time yesterday talking about nice things. So floor is yours, and
thank you very much.
Tell us your story.
While it's adjusting, on behalf of Ukraine, I want to thank your colleagues and, of course, Slovakia for supporting our country in such difficult and dark times for us. And, of course, on behalf of all people who lost their homes and find a new home here, I also want to thank you, and thank you, because we really need it. So, what makes us closer to Europe family and to Europe hydrogen production? I want to draw your attention that on 2nd of February this year was signed a memorandum of understanding between Ukraine and European Union. And this memorandum is for strategic partnership on biomethane, hydrogen, and other synthetic gases. It means that the vector of development of gas structure and gas system will be closely linked to renewable gases. And Ukraine adapts the current and future European Union rules for hydrogen production, and of course, action to meet a specific infrastructure need for hydrogen sector. This slide you have already seen, but I want to give additional information about this slide, that at the end of last year, this project, which called the Central European Hydrogen Corridor, got status of IPCEI, Important Project of Common European Interest. And it means that this corridor can be strategically important on supplying a new energy source for the demand of European countries. You can see some figures which already been announced by pre-feasibility study of joint work for TSO operator of Germany, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Ukraine. And you can see capacity of energy transition of this pipeline, if it will be operating on its full level, it's 120 gigawatt per day, kilowatt hours. It's a huge amount, and you can imagine how many electric lines you need to build and how much the investment used to be in electric to be equal to this only one pipeline corridor. Oh, sorry. Here you can see the slide which shows how developed is our gas transition system, and the region which is very close to Slovakia consists not only from gas pipeline, but we have a huge underground storage. And last year, our underground storage operator got certificate according to all European regulations. If we speak about production of hydrogen very close to Slovakia and to make it happen for trans-border hydrogen valley, we can see that production can be directly in this area because we need at least three things to make hydrogen project successful. water resources. We need to get water without any harm for environment and not taking water from other spheres of economy of the region. Second one, of course, possibility to build renewable, to make it green. And the third one is logistic, so transportation. When we put all these three things together, we will have a successful story and successful project. Here you can see extremely good condition of the region for renewable. And it was this data was checked by National Academy of Science and Institute of Renewable Energy. We have extremely good condition for wind power in this region, and of course sun. Sun is not so active as in the southern part of Ukraine, but there are more sunny days than in south. So it can be almost the same during the year, but here we can see that possibility of a region which is here to build exactly 1 gigawatt of capacity for electrolysis and at least 2 gigawatt of a renewable energy source. Also, I want to admit that last year made also a great success of Ukraine to join TNT corridor. It means that now Ukraine has at least 2 routes which goes through our territory, and we need to build infrastructure for hydrogen transportation, for hydrogen logistics. It means that each 150 kilometers we need to build a refilling station. And on this slide you can see that this refilling station, there is an idea of a project to combine a refilling station with the electric refilling station and to make absolutely green route for transporting, and not only some goods and not only for logistics, but also for people to travel, because now in Ukraine you can hardly find interconnection filling station to get possible to bring you on electric car from city to city. Inside the big cities it's okay, but from city to city it's a little bit difficult. And of course we want to speak about timeline of the project which we now discussed. That we win in this war, I think nobody have no doubts. And we will do it as soon as possible. We just need an instrument in our hand, and we can see how big support of European Union and all democracy world is now with Ukraine. And this gives us this timeline that 2023 and 2024, we want to spend on designing everything and start construction in 2025 to be ready to operate in 2027. Thank you very much. I saved 2 minutes for the next speaker.
Many thanks for that. It was a brilliant presentation, and we really hope it's going to turn on the good side on Ukraine soon, because it was very touching, your opening words. Thanks for them. The next speaker, and probably is the last presentation of the day before Bart's wrap-up, is the man you probably everybody know as a famous director and a specialist for IT. No, I'm joking. Jan Vajteršuc, Mr. Hydrogen of Slovakia. That's my naming for them. This is the guy who represents and everything which is hydrogen. So good luck. You are the last one, so
Thank you very much.
Keep it
Thank you
good.
very much. Thank you very much.
Not the least.
So I'm not here, that's why this happened. I'm a person 2-in-1, as you mentioned, technician, also technician for hydrogen for the future, I hope, in Slovakia. We heard about the big plans in Europe, in Ukraine, and there is a question, not when, but how fast we can intercoupling with Ukrainian side. This is a map, basic map of my idea how to phasing the development in Slovakia. We are coming out of the knowledge of our partners, of you, what presented before me, that we need to start in some certain region, and most people region in Slovakia is Košice region, and he can benefit, or region can benefit from the US Steel Košice, which is potential a huge consumer of the hydrogen, and also with the bordering with Ukraine. And third, we have 4 pipes, large diameter pipes, how to transport hydrogen from east to the west, to the Germany, to the other countries. This is the first development phase, what was mentioned a few minutes ago, or before, or in many presentations, what was presented here. And the second phase is the spreading the hydrogen value chain through the Slovakia using hydrogen backbone, hydrogen gas repurposing pipe. As was mentioned, we can see a big potential around the western Slovakia too. I hope it's this. Which one? This one, no? Here, because here is a chemical industry, Duslo ammonia plant, which consume 100 kiloton per year of hydrogen today, but gray hydrogen, fossil-based hydrogen. So adding to the potential of the Košice, roughly 100 kilotons per hour, per year, we have 200 kilotons just here in the second phase. And there is a potential of Slovak refinery, Slovnaft, which now consume roughly almost 100 kilotons too. But the production or consuming of hydrogen will be decreasing because of reduction of the fossil fuel production in the future. So totally we have almost 300 kiloton per year of consumption only in industrial sector. We need to count also energy sector, which will in the future consume hydrogen for the combined heat and power production or industrial high grade temperature processes. And the third phase is recoupling to the western bordering countries, to Czech Republic and to Austria. So you see that the hydrogen backbone could offer also to connect local sources of renewable electricity, and also offer spreading the hydrogen through the distribution level to the rest of the Slovakia, and use as a backup for the local production and consumption. Because we know if we base only on PV plants and electrolyzers, we need some backup for the winter time. And the pipe is itself a storage, because huge diameter means a big storage of hydrogen, which can be used like a buffer for the other solutions. This picture was already mentioned. We think the same. This is, I don't want to repeat what was mentioned, but this is a motivation to speed up also the partner activities here in Košice region, but also activities along the pipe to the Germany. And you can see here how will look European hydrogen backbone in the 2040. This is from European Hydrogen Backbone Initiative, which means that those black pipes are repurposed and those yellow or orange is a new grid. So you can see that we have an advantage because we have already built gas pipelines, and you know, if you want to permit a new pipes, it is very difficult. So we have an advantage in time to rebuild one pipe, and another advantage is that we have 4 parallel pipes. So one will be for hydrogen, and those 3 for the future for gas, biogas, or another maybe also for hydrogen. So this was a short presentation. I go back and I want to conclude that the cooperation between Ukraine, between Slovakia and between Czech Republic and Germany is crucial for us, for our development. So let's take a chance, which is here, to start build a hydrogen valley here. We are all here partners who can benefit from it. We need a good leadership. We need a transparent structure, and quickly prepare a proposal for the open call, which ends on 18th of April. So good luck for all us, and we see a bright future, hydrogen future.
Many thanks, Jan. It was brilliant. And I would like to maybe ask everybody for a round of applause for Košice self-governing region and this man who are the responsible for being today. And if he wouldn't be so passionate about hydrogen and putting so much effort, this development wouldn't be shown at today's conference. So again, thank you both.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bart. Thank you very much, Alexander, and all the experts.
So the last part of the morning session, I'm going to be announcing very shortly. Bart, the floor is yours for a wrap up, and welcome the most important guy in this room regarding to Brussels and European structures. So floor is yours, and enjoy.
Thank you very much. And well, first of all, congratulations to all the speakers. I think we saw wonderful talks. I mean, wonderful slides, actually one slide was actually shown, I think, in 3 presentations. So it must be really an important slide, I believe, no? So, no, but wonderful talks. I mean, also a lot of learnings were shared. And well, first of all, so thanks again for the self-governing region of Košice to organize that, and also to Jan, and your association, the Hydrogen Association of Slovakia, because a great job you did, and an important job, actually, to make it happen. But coming back now a little bit to what I said in the beginning, the narrative, you know, how important is the narrative? And while I was seeing all those presentations, I was like, okay, what could be now the narrative? What could be the one that would convince Europe to go for this one here? And I think I found it. Yes, I think that the Košice Hydrogen Valley could be the accelerator for European energy independence and keeping the heavy industry in Europe. Because if we can start as soon as possible by creating here a certain demand in this valley to import hydrogen from Ukraine into Slovakia and then later fall. And this valley can be the accelerator, can be, come on, let's get it done, let's go for it. And then we use it, for example, in the steel industry or for some other regions here. You also mentioned for transportation usage and so on. But I think this is the project that will accelerate the Eastern Corridor for European imports of hydrogen to meet the REPower EU. And that's the narrative. Keeping the heavy industry here in Europe, accelerator of the East Corridor import. And I think then you, of course, you will start to write it in more details, but it's a very nice narrative. And I think people in Europe, the policymakers, will love it. They will say, yeah, that is what we need. This will accelerate. And actually, hydrogen valleys, the reason why we got this extra 200 million euro was all about accelerating the hydrogen economy. And this is a very good story. And I would say, I would start with that. And we saw it in all the presentation. I mean, EU Stream, they are ready. They say, okay, as soon as we get the go-ahead and there is a demand, we are ready to do it. We also heard in Ukraine, they are ready. I mean, they are going to start studying, they are ready. Local hydrogen production, they are ready. US Steel said, well, if it makes a business case, and probably hydrogen has a huge potential, maybe we go for it. So you see that basically everybody is kind of ready, if I could say so. So why don't we start now really constructing this hydrogen valley and make it an accelerator for the decarbonization of Europe? And it will start here in Košice. And I think this afternoon, we will all sit together and let's work together to make it happen. But now, I think first, before we can do that, we should maybe eat something. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to be short because you are hungry, I would say. 12 speakers, 20 apostles, and this wasn't wish, it was maybe prophecy. So let's keep it biblical, you know. And let's pray and let's wish that it's gonna work out for Slovakia, for Ukraine, for all this region. I love that. My role now is to thank you, everybody, that you've been joining today's program, today's workshop, and make a announcement. First of all, good appetite for the lunch, which starts immediately in 55 seconds from now. I hope you are looking for it the same as me. Let me say that roundtables should be starting 20 minutes past 1 p.m. I guess it's gonna be half past, okay? We will postpone a little bit. It's gonna be here in conference rooms, which will be rearranged. And in presidential library, there will be parallel sessions. Please use them and join them. And then we will meet all together, the most probably 3:30, for the conclusion situation and conclusion words. So if you don't mind me, I will just be silent right now, and good appetite for the lunch, and see you tomorrow. See you in the afternoon. Okay, I was just checking whether you pay attention. Okay, see you in the afternoon. Thank you.